Okay guys, so now the most fun part starts. All I need to do here, replace this mat data table with the actual data set. I'll be pulling it from a live server or database. So before we start, I want to quickly head out to material.angular.io, choose one of those components, data table, and look at some of their data table examples. So as you can see, they have listed out couple of data table samples here. I'm going to choose one of this sample because this sample it shows you how to filter your result sets, and it has a very nice sorting, pagination, etc. Built in. So I'm going to pick this layout. They have one more layout is for their HTTP service. I'm going to cover this in next video. So in this video, let's just implement this nice looking material data table to our data. Okay. So let's go back to our app. Before we start, I want to quickly go to app.component.html. So this is where I'm going to put my new material data table here. Okay. So to do that, it's always a good idea to fetch data from a different service. This is called separation of concerns. So keep all your backend related code in a separate service. So I'm going to quickly generate a new service here. Okay. And I'm going to keep this backend services into a separate directory called services. So as you can see, this is the backend service. Now next thing, I just want to quickly go to this backend service and make sure that this backend service is included into my app.module file. For some reason, my auto import plugin is not working. So I have to manually import that. Okay. From service. Beautiful. Okay. Now next thing I want to do, I'm going to create a file called mock.data.json. Again, this is just for the testing purpose, and later on I'll be replacing this file with an actual HTTP server. I have already written some code. Okay. So in this file, all I'm doing, I'm just mocking my data. Okay. Let me get rid of this. So let me just quickly show you what this thing is. Okay. So as you can see, this data, there are a couple of things like error, number of rows. I'll cover this later. But basically what this is, error is code is going to return if there is any error from retrieving the data set or not. Number of rows, in this case, it should be the number of rows is 6 because there are total 6 records, should return 6. I will cover this later how to use these two fields, but for now let's just go with this one. And data is actually where the data resides. So as you can see, this is a sample student's data where it has a unique identifier and then student name, session ID, roll number, father's name, class, and percent. It's very simple data. And I'm going to use this mock data. Later on, I'll again, as I said, I'll replace this mock data with an actual data set. Now my mock data is ready for the testing. One mistake I did earlier, I copied my mock data into .json file, but because it's just for testing purposes, I copied this as a constant and I put it in a TypeScript file. And for now, just ignore this error on number of rows. I'm going to fix this later. And I'm going to show you how to make use of these two fields. But for now, this is the data part we will be focusing on. So let's go back to your backend.service.ts. First thing I want to do, I want to import these students from this mock data. And then next thing is I want to create a local variable which is going to get the data portion of this students from this mock data file. Next thing is I want to create a new method called getData, and I'm going to return this dot students. So basically this is again, this mock service is going to return the students from this mockdata.ts file. Okay. Next thing I want to do, I want to head out to my terminal window, and I'm going to want to create a new mat table data table. So what this is going to do, this is going to create a new component, and this component will actually get the data from this backend service and I'm going to include, I'm going to take the method from this component. So let's quickly go to this mat.component.ts file. So as you can see, mat table data. I'm going to copy this selector, go back to my app.component.html, and I'm going to include this here. Okay, it should be in. Perfect. Table data. So my app is again serving at localhost 4200, and as you can see that this is getting the new data from mat table data component. So let's quickly go to the mat table data component again here, and this is where I want to display my data in this new format from in this data table format. So let's quickly do that. First thing, I want you to go here, take their CSS file, copy this over, and next thing, I want to take the CSS and put it into this mat table data.component.cs. Okay, so now the CSS part is over. Second part is the TS part. Okay, so as you can see, they have this boilerplate code here. We don't need everything here, but I'm going to show you what exactly you need, the bare minimum code you need to get the data from your component. So I'm going to copy these first two lines here. Let's go to your mattable.component.ts and put this here. So as you can see, it is the only thing we are missing is view child. I'm going to include this here. That's it. Now we are good. Next thing we need is okay, so I'm just basically what I'm going to do, copy all of these things here, okay, and let's pick and choose what we need. Okay, perfect. Okay, okay, so what is complaining about that this is missing an on init implementation. That's okay. I'm going to fix this later. For now, let's get rid of all this construction part because we don't need all of these things. Okay, I'm just going to copy this here and save it somewhere in the notepad file because I'm going to come back to this in 1 minute. So let's get rid of all this construction because all they are doing is they are creating a new data source at this moment. Okay, and then I'm going to leave rest of the codes here. I don't need to create a new user, nothing like this. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of everything. Basically that's all you need. Okay, okay, now I don't have this, I'm not using this data type, so I'm going to change this to any. Okay, perfect. Now all we are missing, as you said, is implementation of the ng on init. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say ng on init. Okay, so this got rid of that error, but here what I want to do, I want to get access to my backend service here. So this dot, and I have to bring my backend service to my metadata.component.ts file here. Okay, so I'm going to import this here, backend service auto import. Okay, so I just imported this backend service here. I'm going to put initiate a new private variable, say my service, and is going to be of type backend service. Okay. Okay. Now in the ng init part, all I'm going to do here, this dot my service dot get data. That's it. So if I go to my backend.service.ts, get data, so it's going to return this .students file here. So basically that's pretty much it. So as you can see, this will return my get data file here. But this, remember, like we got rid of this code here. So I am going to bring back this code to my mattable.data.component.cs, and basically what I'm going to do, I'm initiating a new mattable source, and I'm going to assign this to my this.data source. I'm going to replace this and pass this as a parameter. So I think that's pretty much it for this TS file. Let's go back to the code and let's work on our HTML file. Again, I'm going to copy this code from here, put it on your mattable.component.html, replace everything here. So as you can see, I'm not going to touch anything else. This is the data source what we just defined. Now, instead of reading it from the delivered example database, now it's going to read the data from the mock data what we created. So basically that's pretty much it. One more thing, sorry, last two things I have to do here. I have to fix this displayed column. So again, this was the examples given by Angular material, but our data doesn't look like this. So let me quickly show you. Our data has this student ID number, student name, session ID, roll number, father's name, class, and %sign. So I already have copied this here. All I need to do, instead of using their displayed columns, I'm going to replace it with the columns what I want to see from my mock data. And this order is very important. Remember guys, this is the order your data is going to show up in your mat table. So I think now I'm done with this .ts file. Now it's time to go fix our HTML file. So the same changes I have to do. As you can see, this is using the example containers here. So all I need to do, I need to get rid of all these fields from the boilerplate code I got from Angular material. Okay, and this time I have to include the fields I want to use. So these are the fields I will be using. I'm going to copy this, go back to my HTML file, put it here. So now let me just save it. So what this is going to do, this is going to show up the tables I have. Okay. Let's see. I hope I saved everything. Okay, wonderful. See, so this is exactly what I expected. So now I have entirely replaced this mat table to use my data set. And if I go back to my mat table data set, the mock data set, I had this 6 different student IDs with their information. And you see my mat table data component is fetching the data from mock data. So basically this is, and as you can see, the sorting works. And then you can even filter your results. So for example, dad, okay, so it filters the results and it's going to, it has a nice pagination, the filtration works, the sorting is working. So this is how easy it is to use delivered Angular material data table and point it to your data source. So I think in next video what I'm going to do, I will be replacing this mock data to a live database. So again, this my code, I intend to design my code in such a way that it can work with multiple platform and multiple databases. So basically all in my next tutorial I'll show you, all you need to do from here, like getting it from a mock data, you just need to replace this at one place to point it to your live database, and your mat data table should be working as is. So stay tuned, let's wait for the next tutorial.